Yeah. Day 2 got up through Northern California. Took the 101 the whole way to like mid-Oregon there. Got some ridiculously good burritos there. Got up to Seattle day 3. Then we had our first rest day. Well, rest day is more, rest days are basically walking 10
Like
miles.
touring around the area.
Right,
Okay,
seeing
okay.
stuff,
Just getting to the place.
Yeah, yeah.
And what was this?
This is day 4 to Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, resting in Seattle. Nice.
Day 5, I wanted to do a nice short day for crossing the border to Canada, especially because on some previous trips to Canada, we've been hassled a bit and searched and all that, so I wanted to get plenty of time, although this was super easy, ended up being. Hung around Vancouver, day 5. Got up to Prince George on day 6, which is a small city in northern British Columbia. It's kind of the regional capital of the area. Then over to Prince Rupert. There's a lot of Prince cities in northern BC.
I had no idea.
Yeah. This is kind of like the top of the West Coast here.
Okay.
So that's where we got within the first week. It's basically right up to the back door of Alaska.
Now, does
here.
the landscape turn into kind of like northern Oregon coasts, where it's just lots of trees on the ocean sides and all that, or like what's that?
You definitely get that. All those trees. I mean, starting with the redwoods.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then you go up through the temperate rainforests of Washington and all that. But once you're up here, there's actually a bit right around here where it's still the kind of high desert, all the way up in BC. It's just the last little bits, because like inland Oregon and inland Washington is high desert. It goes all the way up to just about here before petering out. But yeah, you get tons of trees, but of course you see a lot of the logging too in northern BC, so you'll get these amazing, beautiful, tall trees on the side of the road. And if you look closely, you see just behind it is all cleared out, or all like way shorter, newer growth. But yeah, I got to this. It's a pretty remote city on the Pacific up here. I was also noting stuff like, at this point, we've driven longer than the diameter of the moon, for example.
Really?
And that, I just kind of kept noting these things. I just kept
That's
embellishing the itinerary, just keep getting, deeper and deeper.
To get a feel like that, that's kind of cool. Like,
yeah.
oh, okay, this is how much time you need to spend to,
It helps you conceptualize. I mean, the biggest part about this trip was getting to conceptualize distance, just the continent that we live on, the world that we live on, more than, just your couple 1,000-mile road trips, or even just more than, your USA kind of thing, just breaking forth into understanding the idea of we are on a continent.
Right.
So day 8, getting up to this tiny town in northern British Columbia, along this is called the Cassiar Highway. This is one of the areas to access the true north. Stayed in a little place there. Here, day 9, we hit the Yukon. Get up above 60 degrees north of the equator. Here we're just under 34.
Okay.
So getting up to 60 degrees there. And getting to Whitehorse, Yukon, which is the capital of that area, which is actually really gorgeous, really fun. Oh, and here, at this point, we've driven further than Mercury's diameter. So it keeps going up and finding other things. Our first really long day, over 11 hours, connecting Yukon with Fairbanks, Alaska. That was so cool, getting into the interior.
What's
starting
the border
to see.
like? Is there a clear distinction? Like, oh, here's the they have markers that kind of.
Yeah.
Is it really clear? Or do they not care when you get into like the crazy forests? In Alaska?
What's interesting with the border area here is usually when you're crossing your borders, there's like, there's your like customs centers right up against the border.
Yeah.
But the Canadian side is like 30 miles on the Canadian side, and the American one's like 10 miles on the American side. So you just get this vast area of no man's land in between, but right at the border they have a whole thing, signs. They've kind of cleared out the forest in either way so you can see the line you're on and everything. There was even a bench that had like Alaska, Yukon, you could like stand or sit on either
like
side.
The four corners, like,
Right, yeah. And, you know, everyone's taking their pictures there, of course. And then north of Fairbanks is a road called the Dalton Highway, which is in every single list of most intense, scariest, dangerous highways in the world, basically.
Oh, like the ice trucker type.
There's a
vibe.
whole season of ice road truckers about this highway.
Okay.
Of course, we did it in the summer. It's not slick ice the whole way.
Sure.
But it is dirt. It's dirt all the way from here, all the way up to here.
Okay, that will mess up.
Yeah, this was serious dirt, and not just dirt, but tire puncturing rocks and just unbelievable amounts of remoteness. So we get up halfway up the Dalton Highway this day. There's basically only one place along this whole way. Glad we're not recording with that going on.
We got a train going by, viewers.
Yeah, great.
Oh,
And yeah, there's really only one stop in the middle of this. It's called Coldfoot Camp, named that because that's where people get cold feet before going up to the true Arctic and often end up turning around. Another reason this is a turnaround zone is because it's right north of the Arctic Circle. So the Arctic Circle's just south of this. There's a whole sign you can go by and everything, and because I was going there for solstice, once you get north of here, the sun does not set during this time. Just does not.
Now, when you say, like, for this though, like, last stop, that means like last food, gas, like civilization kind of thing? Like,
where do you mean?
Stop, like, you said last stop. Like,
oh, I mean, like, yeah, it's almost a 500-mile distance between Fairbanks and the Arctic coast. Yeah. And there's this one camp in the middle, like that's basically. It's a trucker stop.
Got it.
It's a trucker stop. It has like very basic kind of dorm style accommodations. It has like a, buffet food area. It has gas. It has tire repair. It is the place in the middle of the Dalton Highway.
And then you're screwed. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it's also the area where you can access Gates of the Arctic National Park, which is the most remote and the least visited national park in the United States.
Is it one of the larger ones too?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's like this whole area. It's probably like the size of Arizona or something out there.
So right now we're actually looking at like a really detailed schedule of what Adam went through on his journey. So we're looking at a map. Tilt it real quick.
And I sent you an online version of this. You can take little bits and put things in as necessary.
So we're fighting gardeners right now, and we're fighting trains going by. We thought this was going to be a quiet park.
Usually this is one of the quietest spots in all of Torrance. I think this is the most people I've ever seen here.
The curse of trying to film something.
Right.
Alright. So we're at day 12 now.
Day 12. This is major, getting to the northern part of Alaska. So Dead Horse Camp is at the end of the road. It's the only road that leads up to the Arctic here. You get above 70 degrees north of the equator, well north of the Arctic Circle. And this camp and this road only exists because the oil fields up there.
Okay.
And it hugs the pipeline.
I believe it. All right.
So you're going through all this amazing, pristine, beautiful wilderness, and you just have this zigzagging pipeline next to you. It's a very sobering experience, but this day is also major because you drive over the last mountain range in North Alaska, the Brooks Range, which has the most dangerous part of the road, the Adigan Pass, which you'll definitely see on ice road truckers mentioned. The road just goes up thousands of feet, has no shoulder, and on one side just drops a good 1,000 feet. And it's tight turns. And what you have to know about this whole Dalton is it's for truckers. It's built for truckers. It's all about the truckers, and you are a second-class citizen as a tourist And that is one of the major things you have to realize if you're going to attempt
So not a whole
this
lot
area.
of passive,
No.
truckers kind of.
No, I mean, the scary thing here is it's this narrow, windy, up and down dirt road.
Yeah.
And truckers are barreling down, trying to make their good time. I gotta sneeze.
Silly question. You don't need like chains for this season, right?
Not for summer.
Yeah.
But there was a chance on the Adigan Pass that it could have snowed.
Okay.
Any time of year.
Sure.
It is a roll the dice. Any weather you could have ever imagined, roll the dice, you might get it. We were lucky with beautiful sunny weather over the pass, but it's serious. It's very, very, very scary getting up there, because if you have a truck who needs to like make it up with a certain amount of momentum,
Yeah.
um,
I'm gonna join you now.
yeah, absolutely. If you have a truck that's trying to make it a certain amount of momentum,
Yeah.
they can't slow down for you. And these roads are not like well-kept gravel.
Okay.
There are large rocks in this, so you can shred your tire, as well as trucks can and will kick up rocks. So if you're even passing the other way like that,
We've all had it. They'll hit you.
yeah, those rocks
Those
can really mess you up. So what you want to do
Yeah.
is you want to slam on your brakes anytime you see a truck. So you go as over as possible and as slow as possible to avoid those rocks.
Oh
And
my
somehow I managed to keep my windshield through this whole area. I thought I'd be replacing it
No
3 times
nick,
in Alaska
no
alone.
scratches. It looked pretty.
Not yet.
Nice.
Not yet.
No,
Not in
you're
Alaska.
back. Yeah, okay. No,
There's
that's fine.
many thousands of miles to go.
FYI though, I have trucker friends, and one of the biggest gripes that they have is people that, almost cut them off thinking that these trucks don't have tons of weight to brake on.
Yes.
Like, they're gonna hit you. So you
Yeah.
have to give them tons of, 3 phantom car spaces ahead of them, just so they can give enough braking space. Do not cut them off. That's
on paved roads.
Yeah, and that's on a nice road. Right now we're talking about gravel and all
Seriously
earth.
remote. Seriously remote.
Barely
like up
a
and
carved
down.
road, right?
Like 10-degree inclines and everything.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane. But after you get north of the Brooks Range, you're greeted with the Arctic tundra. It just gets flat, like you're driving out into Kansas. But it's tundra. And we saw herds of caribou, musk ox with their kind of curly horns
I was
and
gonna
everything.
say, what's the wildlife?
It's, mostly musk ox and caribou. You can see wolves, you can theoretically see moose. I mean, up here, this is where you could also see polar bears. There's a non-zero chance of encountering a polar bear up here. Thank God we didn't see that, but that's the one.
Far away, maybe, but
Maybe.
now is this bald eagle area? Is this turf?
Tons.
Yeah.
Tons.
Did you
Not
get lucky?
on the tundra,
Yeah,
but
not the tundra.
the whole way. Actually, ridiculous amounts of them in Canada. So yeah, I saw more bald eagles in Canada than the USA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So you get to this area, it's flat everywhere, and it just opens up.
Okay.
But you also get these cool geographical formations called pingos, which are small hills made out of the permafrost.
Okay, now we're fighting a dump truck. This is actually
This is wild.
This is the curse of recording anything. Is that, I almost wanted to tell this guy, hey, are you willing to get up at 8 in the morning? You know what I mean? Just something that's just because it happens so often. It's ridiculous. The film, talk to any filmmaker, it's the curse.
As I'm getting to the most interesting stuff,
as we're
too.
getting the most details of things.
As
Sorry
I'm
to break
talking
your
about
rhythm.
Saskatchewan, it's gonna be dead quiet. You know
I
it.
know, right? All right, so now you get to see a tundra, which is awesome. That sounds cool.
True tundra. And it's all it's all permafrost way south, even all the way down in Yukon and British Columbia, which makes the roads really difficult because roads bake in the heat.
Yes.
And it's baking asphalt on top of ice, basically.
Okay.
So the ice tends to melt, and you get these heaves up and down, these areas where the road is just buckled downwards.
Okay.
That if you're driving a significant speed,
Yeah.
you could end up airborne with how it just will lurch you. So you have to be ready to be looking at the road in front of you and slamming on the brakes when you need to, and not speeding in the first place as well, because these roads are intense.
Do they have marked speed limits there? I mean, this is no man's land, so I feel like why would they want to tell like the 4 people that come? Like,
there's marked speed limits, but there's not very much enforcement.
I know, right? By radar, you're like,
right.
What is going on?
I showed you the Cassiar Highway, which goes through northern British Columbia, connecting to Yukon.
Okay.
And I talked to one guy at a hotel there, and he said there's one cop for the 700 miles or kilometers worth of the whole highway. That he just kind of wanders it. It's like you're not going to encounter him.
Knows everybody.
Yeah.
These are like probably I mean, I don't know if you know, but these are probably like sheriffs more so than like.
I mean, it's
like, how does that like cop system work? Because there's no like real city territory. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just these tiny jurisdictions.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hearing even like Alaska has, if you can believe it, a problem of not enough cops, where you could, it's so remote and so spread out, and so few people live there that if you need to call the police, someone's breaking in, they'll be like, great, we'll be there in 5 hours.
All right.
So
you gotta handle
someone,
yourself.
Yeah, someone can do whatever they want to you for hours and hours and hours. So it's a problem.
All right.
It is a problem up there, but it means I didn't get pulled over, so it's not that much of a problem. Although you can't speed. You get to these areas and you're just like, great, I'd love to make up time, go 70, but you literally can't.
For all those youngins that don't understand what a non-paved road is like, right? It's just like, you can't. When you're hitting rocks, because you're kicking up so much in your car, you don't even want to mess it, because like a rock could actually puncture a pipe, or your oil line, or just anything down below, and then you're screwed.
I mean, even if it just blows your tire out and you're spinning around on a road like that.
You're kicking so much up.
Once you get north of like central British Columbia, there's no, there's no edges to the road. There's no shoulders, really.
Yeah.
It's just the roads are a pile of dirt and asphalt in the south, and then, eventually the dirt in the road. It's just a pile that you're driving on. So if you even kind of veer off the road a little bit, you could easily tumble.
Hit bigger things and
I mean, never mind the moose, too. I mean, that's
any moose crossings?
Not as many as you would usually expect, because evidently this last winter had so much snowpack that it was something like 30% of the moose and the mountain goats survived the winter.
Okay.
But that means the bears got to eat really well, so we saw a ton of bears.
Heard that the bears lack food sometimes, so I guess the whole natural thing, that's good.
I wouldn't go this fall, because there's a lot of bears and now there's a lot less of their prey. So this is where to be kind of scared.
This is where they say hi to you.
Right, being there like last year and when I was there, that's fine. They had plenty of food. They were eating happy.
Okay.
But I don't know how it's going to go in the next couple of years.
So I want to know, Dead Horse Camp, you're hitting water basically, and I like to put my feet in everywhere I go. Were you able to do that? And if so, what was that like?
Oh, I jumped in.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. 'Cause I wanted to join the Polar Bear Club too.
This is the ultimate polar bear plunge. The water temperature was 28 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit, okay.
28 degrees.
Ooh.
And it's still mostly frozen.
Okay.
But
I forgot, is it 32? I'm sorry.
32 is freezing for fresh water.
Okay, good.
But salt water can get down to about 0 Fahrenheit before it freezes.
Okay.
The air was in the 40s, the water was in the 20s.
Was there, the killer usually is a crisp breeze. Was that like the thing? Cause it's
no,
like
I mean, once you're jumping around 28-degree water, anything above like 35 feels nice. Feels like this. Feels like you're in California.
All right, cool.
But yeah, you can't actually drive right up to the Arctic Ocean here. Cannot.
Okay.
Yes, because it's all oil field land.
Private?
It's all private, but there's one hotel, and I use the word hotel generously. It's very comfortable. It's very great for the area.
Breakfast, maybe a shack, a barnyard,
worker camp. You read online and it says it is it's part of the industrial heritage of the region.
I mean, okay, but did those campsites look old? Like, did they look
Well,
like
no, I mean, this road was only completed in the 70s.
Well, okay, but did they look like they're in the 70s?
No, I mean, it was dorm style. I said it was like a
just
pretty
mean
fine dorm
architecturally.
style. It was.
Or like, you know, the look of it all. Like, did it feel?
It's all like you have to build up kind of cheaply. That you're not really building architecture.
Yeah, I
especially
get it.
because
I just feel like there's still like a layout, or like I don't know. I just feel like there's still something that puts that imprint of like, okay. I mean, maybe it's just old wood for all we know. I didn't, you know.
Right. I mean, it's very industrial. Is the thing, and it's just kind of timeless industrial, where I remember, we slept over in this area, and the only type of room you can get is like a twin on either side of the room. Basically, it's meant for you and you and your worker buddy.
Okay.
To bathrooms down the hall.
But
and
you do
everything.
get a private room then.
You do.
Essentially. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sort
yeah,
of,
you can.
Okay.
And
then a communal
but the
bathroom.
heat wasn't working at night, so we just had this one blanket, and we were just shivering cold. And so eventually,
how'd you pack for this? Didn't you have like a sleeping bag that could have helped or something, or?
No, I mean, we stayed in hotels really every other night, and
used to the luxury. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, they do provide a bed, they do provide a blanket.
I love it, like a blanket. Like
Yeah.
here we are in Alaska in this crazy tundra area.
You get like one of those mattresses that's about this thick,
Yeah, you can basically fold it. All right.
Right. It's a dorm. It's a rustic dorm.
I love it.
And
okay? Actually, I'll ask it just because it's nice to get a dated reference. This is 2022. What are costs like for a room of that description in that location? Are we looking at like a $10 room? Is it still like 30? Like what is this?
No. I think
60?
it was somewhere between 150 and 200 something.
A night?
Yeah, because what are your other options?
So they actually, it's not so much that they don't have enough people coming in. They're actually like strongholding you, so they actually know they got a monopoly on.
There is nothing for like 5 hours.
Very fun.
Literally nothing. And this is the only one that even somewhat.
Okay, or sleep in your car.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some people bring their campers.
Yeah. Okay.
It's on rough road, but some people brought their campers all the way up here.
I guess they need to make their money. So, but
Yeah,
100
yeah.
something. Okay.
I mean,
wow.
you're constantly having to rebuild stuff too, because
Yeah.
you're on the permafrost. You're on like very thin soil in the permafrost. You can't park right on the dirt. Like they build up a bunch of gravel, and then they
Okay.
kind of build up. You don't
want to be caught in anything, like layers of any, like.
Well, because cars and buildings are warm, and anything that's warm and touching the ground will melt the ground.
Okay. In terms of creating slush and traction, or I'm just trying to understand.
Just in terms of the land like settling
yeah.
in
Okay.
around you. So if you have like a building that's not built on these kind of like short stilts, you're gonna end up having that building slowly sink into the ground, and maybe non-symmetrically it's gonna fall over.
Because I understand the stilts in like the bayou areas, you want it above water, or when anything could, level up. Or
Right.
whatever. So okay, that's.
It's
thank you
about
for telling me that.
protecting the ground
Yes.
and protecting
Thank you for telling me that.
the integrity of
Yes.
the ground.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a beautiful area, and you drive up to it, and you're in this tundra, and it's in a nice weather. It's like 70 degrees.
Okay.
And then you see in the distance just this thin ribbon of marine layer.
Okay.
And that's how you know you're approaching the Arctic Ocean. And then the temperature dropped from like 70 something to like 40 something degrees over a couple miles.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's really intense, and it's this tiny little oil field. It's not even a town. There's no permanent residents. It's a worker
No one sticks
area.
around.
Yeah, I mean, it's people up there. They're on shift for like a couple weeks at a time,
Okay.
and make their money working backbreaking labor up in the tundra, and then they go wherever the hell home for a couple weeks, and then a couple weeks back
Seasonal
on.
work or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, essentially, we're just looking at like various maps, so it's nothing crazy that you're missing out on. Just look up a Google map, but it's
Dalton
like,
Highway.
Yeah, but there's like the Dead Horse Camp, and it's basically just the most northern part of Alaska right now.
Yeah.
But let's, we could keep going, but let's keep going on the trip.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Day
like I
13.
said, you can't drive right up. You can see on the map that the Dead Horse Camp is not quite at the ocean.
What is that, like a few miles?
It's just, yeah, it's like a 10-minute drive.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you go through this Dead Horse Camp. They have a shuttle service that runs once or twice a day that will bring you across that's, you know, authorized to bring you across the oil fields. You got to give them some of your information. They do like a background check on you and stuff like that.
Wow.
But they bring you in a van to the coast, and that's where you can jump in.
Okay. All right. So it's a situation. It's a thing. But all right.
And of course, they charge you more for that. I mean, they could charge you whatever the hell they want up there.
Well,
but they're very nice. The food is actually better than you would expect, given the geography of the area. But you eat after the workers. There is a pecking order here.
fair.
Like
Fair enough.
the truckers and the workers are what this area is for, and you are allowed to go there.
What is it,
as
like
long as you stay
stews?
out of their way.
What is it, like stews? What is this? What
You
are
know,
we
just
eating?
basic kind of buffet.
Burger
Yeah,
or
but yeah,
something?
some like stewy stuff.
stuff.
You know, like a big vat of risotto kind of thing. You know,
Awesome.
yeah, but pretty good stuff. All said. So
like kings. Awesome.
yeah. So on June 21st, on summer solstice, first of all, at the very beginning of summer solstice at midnight and the very end of summer solstice at midnight,
Okay.
we took pictures outside, selfies outside, and it was as bright as this.
Oh yeah. No, so I did a trip in Iceland.
Oh,
and
cool.
it was during the time when the sun
Yeah.
is not. And so we actually had a local say that, you know, there'll be like an hour or two of like night that you'll get.
Yeah.
Never. So
I mean,
I
it's
hear
twilight.
You. Yeah,
It's twilight in this
If
area,
anything.
but even north of this, the sun doesn't even go down. It's not
That's
even
crazy.
twilight. It's,
Yeah.
it's eternal afternoon.
Yeah.
As
Your body
that's what
doesn't
I
know.
called it.
Your
Yeah.
body doesn't know.
So I mean, you just kind of. I was joking at people. You can live on whatever time zone you want. Like, if you want to live on Paris time and like live like that, that is absolutely your prerogative. Although, dinner time is a very specific time. It's
There you
not
go.
dinner served from this to this. It's get here at this time for dinner.
See, I always joke that this is where Vegas should be because they don't want you to sleep. They just want you to keep getting. You know what I mean?
Right,
So it's
right.
like they should have-
Wouldn't want to be there in January though. I'll tell you that.
Oh, when it's the reverse or something?
yeah,
Or-
then it's dark all the time.
That's true.
and that's
That's true.
That-
when the
that's
vampires
not
come
it.
out.
yeah.
All right.
So yeah, then we got to our northernmost part. This is the northernmost part of the entire North American road system. On summer solstice, this was the most important part of the trip. In previous iterations of planning, I was doing this later on.
Yeah.
But this year in planning, I figured this is so important, and this is the only thing where it's like, I need to be at this place on this date. And so I just went straight north to get there.
Now, we didn't quite say it here in this recording, and things got quieter. Cool. But he did what we call the Great North American Trip. Please
Great North American road
elaborate
trip.
what that is, just the essential, what'd you do in its entirety.
Yeah, all right, so the skinny of that, Great North American Road Trip, or NYART for short, like gnocchi, is... The idea is the biggest loop that one can do on the North American continent.
Ah, okay.
So getting to the northernmost part, the westernmost is also basically in Alaska, so you gotta get a 2-for-1 there.
Okay.
And then crossing the northernmost roads of Canada to cross the entire country of Canada to get to Newfoundland, and to get to the easternmost point of Newfoundland, which is the easternmost point of North America.
Okay.
As well, if you don't count Greenland. Working my way down the east coast all the way down to Key West, Florida,
Okay.
which is the southernmost you can get without hitting Latin America. That's a
Okay.
future potential project.
Okay.
And then working my way home from there. So it's the most extremes that you can do,
Okay.
except for Mexico and Central America.
So I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were gonna be talking about a full road trip just around America. But this guy went above and beyond.
This is North America.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is our front yard Canada also. So this is
Oh, there's a lot of Canada coming.
So he
up.
started in the South Bay. and then he worked his way up. And right now we're at day 13 or through June 21st on his trip this year, and we're only in Alaska right now. So that's crazy. That's crazy. All right.
It ended up being 61 days, so we're on day 13 out of 61 right now. Yeah.
So we could talk about it the whole way.
Yeah.
And this will be part of the lengthier conversation, so let's keep going.
Sure, absolutely. Also, here, once I had gotten up to Dead Horse Camp, I'd driven further than Mars's diameter.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the planet-sized ones.
Yeah,
It'll
I
never
mean,
be a
it
giant
helps,
planet.
like, you look at a picture of the thing, and you're just like, yep, that's a cool, pretty object up there, but it's like, oh, that has a distance, and it's this big.
Yeah, I love those maps that tell you, like, how many countries can fit in Africa or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Alaska, too, certainly. Day 14, at the end of 2 weeks, we get back to Fairbanks. At this point, my mom flew in to join us for a weekend touring Alaska, which was quite fun.
Okay.
Fairbanks is a cool town, too. It's interesting going from Canada and, Canadian culture, as it gets more and more and more remote and everything, and then passing into Alaska, where all of a sudden it's very American. Okay. Again, it's like you're going from Yukon to South Carolina, but in the boreal forest.
Okay.
And
so don't feel estranged there.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's barbecue, there's all sorts of yeehaw in Fairbanks, Alaska. It's a great time.
All right, cool.
We needed a rest day after this, and not only a rest, but also getting my car serviced, because the Dalton Highway's intense.
Okay.
Oh, I needed to mention, we'll go slightly out of order. So just south of the Brooks Range of the south of the Adigan Pass, which is where the northernmost trees are, because once you go north of the pass, north of the mountains, it's treeless tundra. That's what defines the tundra, is there's no trees.
Okay.
So just south of that, on the northernmost trees of Alaska, I just hear a poof.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
it's never good.
Oh crap, my tire. And I'm looking at my dash. Couple seconds later, the little warning comes on, and I'm like 60 something miles from Coldfoot.
Driving on a spare is never fun. All right.
Here's the thing. They say your spare's useless up here. Your spare is meant to get you from the highway where you popped your tire to the tire shop nearby.
Like
that's what your
nearby.
Spare. That's what your spare is built for.
Okay.
Here they say bring 2 full-size spares, full-size, full-pressure, mounted tires on rims.
Spares are usually smaller. Okay.
Yeah. Your donut is not going to cut it here.
Did you bring 2 size? Full?
Took up like 60% of my trunk space.
I was gonna say that. Wow, that sucks,
that takes up a ton of space.
But you can see
and
why.
weighs down your car a lot too. So your gas mileage and your suspension and all that. Did not do kind things to my car on this trip, and I'm like, let's see if I can just, clearly something's popped a little bit. Let's see if I can get to Coldfoot.
Okay.
But about a minute later, you just start to hear the and I'm like,
Makes
that's no good at all. So we find a spot within a mile or so that we can pull off, which is lucky in and of itself, because there's very few pullouts.
Yeah.
And they're very spaced out. I would not have wanted to drive like 20-30 miles on a totally shredded up tire on dirt. So we were able to pull off, and I had never changed a tire before.
Ah, okay.
And here I am, hundreds of miles from Fairbanks.
Like the roughest terrain.
Some of the roughest places that you can be in a car on Earth.
You're just really throwing yourself in the deep end, aren't you?
Yeah. Before I left, I knew this was bound to happen.
Sure.
It was how many times was this going to happen?
Okay.
I watched a video on how to change a tire. Did some notes.
Right there and then you watched the video?
No, just before I left.
I was gonna say, did you get any video reception? Like,
not
were
much.
You,
no, there's no service. Yeah. There's no service. No one else around. It's it's kind of nightmare scenario there. Yeah. And but we pull over, and my fiance and I take turns working on the wheel.
Okay.
And we take turns because one person has to be working and the other person has to be circling the car looking for bears and making a bunch of noise.
That's a thing when you're changing your tire.
Up there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's at any moment you could just say, "Oh my God, bear, jump into the car, close the door.
Yeah, because we don't know how
time.
sneaky they are, huh?
Yeah, luckily we found a space with good visibility, but that does not mean you can just hyper focus on what you're doing at all.
You could also do it here and really confuse people too, if you just want to be like bear and like, you know, shout and all that. I recommend it, but all right. It's crazy though.
So that was very interesting, but we did it successfully, and then we got that new tire to Coldfoot, where they have a tire shop, and just kind of went, hey, I've never done this before, you check it out. They said, all right, you did a good job, and we were able to just kind of keep going on it.
But it's like you were just changing a tire from one good to another, so you basically wanted a second opinion and you were able to go from there.
Because I didn't know whether, you know, I had done something too tight, too loose, and I didn't want my tire flying off somewhere on the highway.
Cool. So we're gonna let's end it on day 15, a quarter of the way there, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, day 15 was just, you know, exploring Fairbanks as well as getting my car serviced.
Okay.
Because I was
like, recommended
who
Fairbanks
knows what kind of damage could have been done?
Can you give us an idea of Fairbanks, maybe in the size, like, is there South Bay Town? Is it like the size of Hermosa? Is it the size of Torrance, Redondo? Like, I don't know if you have a good idea.
Maybe
of how big
Lomita. Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I saw it's around the same population as Goleta, actually, near Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Well, I went to Santa Barbara. So.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you think of that as just, oh, that's that's a pretty tiny town out there.
Yeah.
But that is like the city of the region.
Awesome. They got a Regal, so they have a movie theater, and it's an IMAX, so they got.
I mean, this is where you go if you are in a town of 14 people in the middle of nowhere, which is one where we stayed in.
Yeah.
We stayed in a town of 13, 14 people.
Okay.
And this is where you go to Costco.
Okay.
This is where you go to get any of your stuff done. So it's a pretty small town, but it has all your basic box stores, all of everything, because it is the anchor of the whole region.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Yeah.
Are you willing to do this again? Because I actually want to record the full story. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is a quarter of the way, basically, because you said 60, right? For the most
61
part, 61 days, and we're on 15.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. We're going to do the shorter version. We're doing a lot of different things right now, but this is too fascinating to pass up. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, part 2 is coming soon.
Great.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video. I have some exciting news. I teamed up with Blue View Shoes. That's a shoe company that makes a 100% biodegradable shoe. That's 100% eco-friendly. I have a pair myself. They're stylish, they're comfortable, they do the job. If you want a pair yourselves, look in the description box for any links or discounts, or wherever links are found, depending on where I post this. You'll be helping the little guy, that's me, and you'll be helping a company that truly cares. That's Blue View Shoes, a shoe that is 100% biodegradable. Leave only footprints.